friends. So we're going to tap into brokenness, kind of what that is, how it affects us, and then how it affects us as we move forward and progress into trying to get into relationships. So, Ms. P, you want to let us know what exactly brokenness is?
So, the part of brokenness that we'll be talking about tonight will be self-image, self-esteem, you know, going through relationships or situations where you're in pieces, like mentally, physically, spiritually, like you're a wreck because of things that have happened. So that's what the part of brokenness we're going to deal with tonight.
And I know for me, speaking personally, I know as a man, it's something that a lot of us deal with as men is brokenness and not quite knowing how to deal with it, you know, because you're taught to be a certain way. You have to be strong all the time.
Don't
your
cry.
chest puffed out. Don't cry.
Don't show your feelings. Hide your emotions.
Exactly. Which, you know, some women expect out of us, and then it's another story anyway. So,
And the shoe drop.
But I know for me, my brokenness came from childhood. I am the oldest son of my father, and not having my father in the picture, but him being in the picture for my little brothers and his middle son becoming the junior, and not me. You know what I'm saying? It affected me in a certain way when I looked and I saw, you know, my dad calling me, telling me how my little brothers did during their games, and my older sisters he was there for. And it's like, well, man, what's wrong with me? Why am I not good enough? You know, why didn't you show up at any of my games? Why weren't you there, you know what I'm saying, to talk to me and all of that? So I know I took that into adulthood, didn't realize it, that it was a big part of me that was just like, I'm not good enough. You know what I mean? Because if I was good enough, my daddy would have been there. So that was something that I dealt with personally as a man that I kind of had to unpack. What's going on, E? So yeah, as a man, it can be tough. But ladies, what is your experience with brokenness?
I would say mine's like how you say about your dad. Mine's was more so about my mom, because of the situation that happened between her and my dad. My mom wasn't around a lot. And then when she would call the house, it would be more so like, hey, let me speak to my son. And it was never like, you know, about me. And then when she did get us, it was more so like, you know, you sit over there and you look pretty, dress me up, you always do my hair, and I had to sit there while my brother got to do whatever, you know. So me growing up, it was like, you know, I grew up a tomboy because my dad pretty much raised me for the most part. And so, like, it wasn't until, like, I got close to the end of my high school year that I actually tapped into being a girl, is what I call it. But, I mean, you know, dealing with the issues of, you know, not having my mother around and me thinking that my mother didn't love me, that she didn't want me, which I know now as an adult it's a total opposite. But, you know, just thinking that, you know, I would never amount to anything when it came to being a woman because I was never really taught how to be a woman. Now I have women in my life, God bless me, that have my grandmother, my cousin, and everybody else to kind of like show me, but like that mother, I didn't get that feeling until I was 18, where I met my mother-in-law, which I call her mom. But she was the one that taught me how to be a lady. She was the one that taught me how to be a godly woman. So then that started my healing process. And then as me and my mom got a relationship, it got better. So.
Bree?
Okay, so for me, I've been through a lot of tribulations. And so the brokenness in my life, it started at a very young age. It started at about maybe, I would say 6 or 7 years old, when my mom actually, she I wouldn't say gave me up, but she pretty much put me in someone else's care. And being young, I didn't think, you know, I was just like, okay, well, maybe she's just getting her life together. Well, in reality, she was trying to get that relationship together. So with me staying with an aunt that was on drugs, she passed me off to neighbors. So I didn't have that, you know, the relationship. I didn't have a relationship with no one. It was just me my cousins were around. I was the only girl. So a lot of stuff happened when I was staying with that neighbor. And that's when it all started. I got shot at a very young age. That's when my mom decided, hey, okay, I need my daughter back in my life. And so from there, I forgave her already. We did have that talk later in life, like maybe like 5 years ago. And you know, we started the healing process. We started talking, we started communicating. And not all of that is her fault. She was a young mother. Mm-hmm. You know, she got pregnant with me at 16 years old, had me at 17. So me looking back at the age of being 16 and 17, I want love, you know. I wanted to be loved. I wanted to, you know, have a boyfriend. I wanted to have a relationship, even if I did not necessarily knew what that meant. I just wanted to be loved. And I feel like that's what my mother wanted, because she wasn't loved the properly way, or how everyone, you know, how at least America describes, you know, a family mm-hmm. love. And so really it's been since my grandmother, she was broken, my mom was broken, and then it was me. So I had to figure out, okay, because this did affect me. This affected me in my everyday life with relationships. I was in an abusive relationship because I saw family members go through that. But then I was just like, you know what? That's something that I don't want my sisters to see, because I am the oldest on my mother's side. And with that being said, I'm not going to have my sisters be in a relationship where a man is abusing them, hurting them, doing anything like that. So my healing came from my sisters. My sisters are watching me. They see what relationships I'm going to be in. They see the education level. They see my work ethic. They healed me. My sisters healed me. Me and my mom, we had, you know, we talked, we did all that. She's still going through stuff that, you know, she has to talk to God about that. I can't do too much. But with that being said, I mean, we are definitely on a better path, and that's something that we are talking about as a family, and, you know, just making sure that, you know, we do love each other, and that, you know, everyone makes mistakes, but it's just how you come out that. So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
I kept mine suffering.
I've been through so much stuff, and I'm not afraid to, you know, admit it. And shoot, a lot of people don't know that about me, but I've been shot at, I've been abused physically, mentally, spiritually, all that. So, but you definitely you have to get yourself around people. I have a really great Christian friend, TK Lee, shout you out. She's a Christian artist. Follow her. She's my support system. You need someone in your corner like that will, you know, tell you, hey girl, you good today? You know, I love you. Just checking. Thank you for that, y'all. Just, you know, checking in on y'all. So you have to have that support system. I mean, Takesha, I mean, I have other people too, but they definitely keep me afloat and keep my spirits going. So yeah.
I've been trying to get Takesha on the track. Whenever she see this,
she said she's looking busy.
TK Lee, Takesha. Nah, but so what would your advice be to those that are in a place of brokenness right now? Like, what steps should they take to start to come out of that? Because there's a lot of people who are broken for different reasons. Like we've just mentioned a whole bunch, whether it's family, past relationships, friendships, self-esteem issues, insecurities, whatever it is. So what are the steps to start to come out of that place, to start to heal, to become whole?
Well, I'll say with my relationship with my mom, and even with my marriage, like I had to go to God first.
That's the
I had to tell him everything. Even though he knows everything, I had to tell him everything.
Just talking to God, even if it may not, you know, fix right then in that moment, when you just talk to God after that, it's just like, okay, it's a relief. Like, okay, I'm breathing. I'm going to get through this. So that's what I would say too. Number one, definitely talk to God. And then
like the more you talk to him, and the more you get into his word, and the more you build that relationship with him, the more that he'll show you different things. Because like, I didn't know that the relationship I had with my mom was kind of like the relationship that she had with her mom. So my mom didn't know how to be a mom because she was never really shown. So it opened my eyes to no, it's not the fact that she didn't love me, that she didn't want me. She did the best she could at the time that she had, because a lot more stuff came out about the situation. And my mom is dealing with brokenness, and God is slowly healing her. But I mean, because of everything that she went through in her life, you know, she had to unpack. But you can't just do it by yourself. You gotta have God, and you have to do it in God's timing. Because God has a process for everything that we go through, and we have to make sure that we've give it to Him and let Him carry it, and then He'll show us as time go on our healing, but then on the things that we need to do to help Him, so that we can heal. But you ain't gonna heal if you have to sit back.
You gotta make changes too.
Yeah, you have to
sacrifices.
You have to sit back and learn you. You have to sit back and know you. And if that means putting everybody to the side, hey God, it's just me and you.
And you know what? I will tell you something. God will do that, because He did that with me. It was to the point, y'all, I didn't have no car. I didn't have a place to stay. I didn't have a job. I didn't have, all my friends left me. If y'all know me, y'all know the story. Everybody left me. He did that purposely to get me to get closer to Him. Because if I didn't, I would not have a car right now. I would not have a good job. This is the best job I had in my entire life. I have 401k. I have benefits. I'm blessed. And He did that because He had to show me, Bree, these people are not for you. These people that y'all hanging out with, that y'all think is going to be there for you when troubles comes, I bet you they're not going to be there. But guess who's going to be there? God. God is going to be there.
They're reveling in your pain. They what a lot of people don't understand is, when people latch onto you when you're in your broken stage, when you're in your weakness, it's not because they love you. It's because they see what you can be, and they trying to stop you from getting to that point.
I would just like to say, for the record, not all of Bree's friends left her.
Of course not.
But so it's just like, you know, God has to separate you. Because definitely. with us being God created, we live to worship. So if we're not worshiping God, we're worshiping something else, whether it be people, things, or places. And God is a jealous God. At the end of the day, He's loving, but He is a jealous God. Amen. And He will not have nothing, no one, or no place over Him. So He will make it come down. You cannot put it back together. Why? Because you're worshiping that thing. And we are created to worship God and God only.
Amen.
And that's when the Bible says, when you seek ye the kingdom first, everything else will be added.
Well,
whatever.
God is love. God is love. So you can't be looking for love in people. When your Creator, He is love. Everything about Him is love. And if He takes something away from you or stop you from doing something, it's out of love, because He has our best interest. A lot of times people don't. They're with you as long as they can get something out of you. But with God, there's nothing that we can do to make Him want us even more.
He loves us already.
He created us.
He loves us already.
Yes.
He created us.
So, how many years ago was this? I can't remember. But this is kind of where God forced me to deal with my brokenness. I went from being married to, y'all watched last week, things happening that should not have happened. And that marriage was then dissolved. And so a couple years before that is when I started my walk with God, right? And so it's crazy because, and this happens to a lot of people, we start our walk and everything's great. Like, we're on cloud 9, right? We
I'm a
reading the
testimony to
Bible
that,
every
yes.
day. We praying every day.
Going
like,
to church.
Going to church every Sunday.
Making
Going to Bible
posts.
study every Wednesday.
Listen to gospel.
We got scripture for everything. We witnessing to everybody. And this viewpoint that we have a God is so clear. It is crystal clear, right?
The trials hit.
But.
And then God says, okay, now I have coddled you. And I've babied you, and I've given you an opportunity to come up through your infancy stage. And now it's about to get real. And so for me, my divorce was like when it got real. I looked up and it was like everybody vanished. Like the most broken time period in my life, everybody vanished. And for the first time since I started my walk, I could not hear God. Like I was so trapped in the pain I was feeling, I couldn't hear him. And so I started making decisions that to the outside world look reckless. What is he doing? What is he thinking? But when you are at a point where you're that broken and that empty and hurting that bad that you can't clearly hear him, I was reading this in my Bible. There's like these little inserts that speak on different topics, and one of them is brokenness. And it talked about how everybody has this point in a relationship with God where there's pre that incident and post that incident. So pre that incident, your view of God is so clear. It's crystal clear. It's like this window you're looking through and you can see him, right? And then there's something happens and it's like this pebble that comes and hits that window.
A pebble, y'all. A pebble. Anything small. It will throw you off your track. I'm a testimony to that. I've had plenty of them.
It says the small vines destroy the
there you go. Go ahead. Say it again.
The small vines destroy the vine.
And so the pebble comes and it hits the window, and now that window is cracked, right? So now all of a sudden, this crystal clear view you had of God is now distorted because you're still looking through the same window, but now that window has cracks and everything else in it. So it's not as easy to see him. And so I went through like a couple of years of just making reckless decision after reckless decision. I just up and left. I went to Texas out of nowhere, like was gone. And in the process of doing that, I ended up homeless down there. And I don't know if y'all been to Texas like in the summertime, but y'all think Kansas City heat bad? Go down to Texas in the summertime and imagine being homeless in Texas and you're walking around the streets. Like it got so bad, I got so dehydrated that my body wouldn't sweat anymore.
They got dry heat out there, right?
Like it's a whole different type of heat. Like it's crazy. And so I ended up coming back to Kansas. I had to scrap money together to come back to Kansas City. But it was crazy because I reached a point in there, in that trial, in all of those circumstances, where I literally said, okay, God, this is uncomfortable and I don't like it. But I don't want you to take this storm away from me until I've gotten everything I need to get from it. Like, leave me in this place until I've received everything that I'm supposed to receive from this. And it was at that point that it ended. Like immediately the pieces came back together and it was like he needed me to get there where I was like, if I have to be homeless to get what it is that you want me to get, then I'll be homeless. If I have to be broken in order for me to get what you need me to get, then I'll be broken. It was from that point that things started to get better. Now, I still had a whole lot of healing to do. And in my mind, I was like, oh, I'm healed at this point. Like, I get it. I got peace. I can hear God again. I'm good. So then I started making reckless decisions again. You know what I'm saying? And then, so I mean, it's been a process. And since then, like, my relationship with God is so much different than it was before it, but it's better. You know what I mean? And it's a realistic view of it now. And it's crazy. But my advice to anybody that's in a broken place right now, that's you're hurting, you're scared, you're broken, you're empty. We have a Savior.
Come on.
Who came and took on every affliction that we would ever take on.
Yes, sir.
Just for the sake, because we know the story. Jesus came, he died for our sins, he rose again. Those that believe in him will go to heaven, right? We understand that part. The part that we leave out is he came down here to be our friend.
Amen.
He came down here to take on what we take on, to relate to us, to be our friend, to be our confidant, to be somebody that we can talk to and we know that person understands what we're going through. Jesus knows what it's like to be alone. He knows what it's like to hurt. He knows what it's like to be afflicted. He knows what it's like to be tempted. He knows what it's like to go through everything that we go through. And his whole reason for coming down here was to be our friend, to relate to us. And so whenever because a lot of us look at God, you know, and we're like, I can't, like, I got to clean myself up first. I can't go to God.
You never clean yourself up.
Because he used what? Now look, I don't read the Bible like I should, but I do read it. Now I don't know the scriptures and stuff, but I do believe Jesus used the broken people. He didn't use the teachers. He didn't use the priests.
He used murderers. He used
prostitutes,
stealers, liars,
all that.
Yeah.
Why did he use them? This is a key point in it. Why did he use the people he used?
Because we can relate to them.
We can relate to them, number one, and number two, they weren't at this place where they felt like they were so high and mighty that they could not be taught.
Paul was a murderer. He murdered the
Christians.
Christians. He murdered the Christians. Before God knocked him down, he murdered the Christians. And then he came back and gave his life for the church.
Look at what
he came back
did.
and his he did God's will so good from prison, from the Isle of Patmos, being stoned, shipwrecked. It didn't matter. He says, now that I know God, I'm gonna do his will.
No matter what.
To the point where he was like, if we ain't on the same team, I don't have no dealings with you. If I'm telling you about God and I see that you ain't grabbing it, okay, go to the next person.
Which leads to a very big point, a very key point. I think I made a status about this week. I did make a status about this week because I knew we were going to talk about it today. Actually, it was yesterday, I think. Don't ask God to show you who's for you if you don't want to see who isn't.
Come on now.
Because you can't get one without the other.
Come on.
Whenever you go to God and you start asking, show me who's good for me, show me who's for me, show me who's got my back, show me the people you want around me. Understand.
He will move them people out your life because he did it with me and I only got like 4 people.
He will start
removing
left and right. Let me move this person. There's one person in particular. One person.
But you ain't go to your next season until them people that are leeching out for you are gone.
Yep. And one person in particular, it happened twice. With me personally, I can speak, and this person had no idea. I would find myself helping and giving and doing, and it would start to take away from my relationship with God. The second I would turn back to him, that person would vanish. They didn't know that I had made, you know what I mean? The second time it happened, I said, okay, now this person has no clue in my prayer room what I'm doing. But how is it mysteriously every time I take this step, this person vanishes, and then they pop back up, and I go through the same cycle again.
Oh yes!
And then when I make the decision to get back to God, this person vanishes.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So understand, there are gonna be people that are gonna get cut out, removed. When God starts removing, don't go chase it.
Don't. They will try to come back.
Right.
But you gotta keep that faith, that
Yes.
strong. Like you gotta be strong and just remember the big plan.
When I say I've had so many nights of being by myself in my bed, lonely, hurting. Why like this? Why like this? But I will also say some of the best ideas musically, some of the best vision as far as where God wants me to go is come in those moments where I was isolated, alone, and removed from everybody.
TK girl,
So,
yes.
You know what I mean? Just understand that all of this is a part of the process of you healing from your brokenness. I was watching this sermon, and the guy was talking about 2019 is your year for release. And he said
Did you watch the release series?
Yes. And so he was like, there's 3 steps to this. God is going to release you from people and things that are holding you down, right?
Amen.
Then he's going to release you from the mindset that bound you to those people and things.
Amen.
Because if he just releases us from the people and the things, but doesn't release us from the mindset, then we'll find ourselves going back to the same people and the same things. They may be different people, but it'll be the same thing. You get what I'm saying?
But you know what? At every level that you heal, them people that were attached to you in that season of that brokenness, they vanish.
Yeah.
But that's when you heal.
But the healing
because you
attract
different. You attracting different people in your different seasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The law of attraction.
Yeah.
You attract where you're at. And so, and then the last part was once he's released you from the people and the things, And once he's released you from the mindset that bound you to those people and things, then he will release you into your purpose, into your destiny, into where it is that he's taking you. Once he's gotten you ready, both with what's surrounding you and what's inside of you, then he can. And so they compared it to like a spaceship, a rocket when it takes off. So when it first takes off, it breaks away from the pod that's holding it up, right? So then, as it's getting ready to break the Earth's atmosphere, then there's the boosters then fall off, and so there's two different releases before it's released out of the Earth's atmosphere. There's two different releases that happen prior to that, and without either one of those releases, the spaceship could never take off and get into the Earth's atmosphere. So whenever we start talking about ourselves and taking off, understand that there are releases that have to take place, and the only way that we truly heal and we get out of our places of brokenness is to go through those releases that come. And I'm still going through them. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend to be at this place
all of us at the table, all at the table.
We're all going through it, so don't feel alone in that process. Like, we're all going through it, but understand that the release that needs to take place for you to get where you're going, it has to happen. It's necessary. It's necessary for multiple reasons. You know what I mean? If you're trying to climb a ladder, right? And you got a backpack on full of bricks. At some point, them bricks are going to start to weigh you down. And you're not going to be able to get to the top of that ladder. So what needs to happen is that dead weight needs to be dropped off of you.
Wait, say that again.
That dead weight needs to be dropped off of you in order for you to continue to progress and go higher. And so be okay with letting go and going through seasons of loneliness or quietness. Or God will always send relief and help.
He will.
Period.
But them be the best seasons,
They
though.
do. They
When
do.
you on that island by yourself, like, and you get to know God better, you get to know yourself better, and then when you get released out of there, the people that you used to cater to, like, you looking like,
I ain't worried about you.
I'm good.
Right.
And you see your vision clear. You see what God wants you to do in this world. You know your purpose. So I don't know if you guys ever saw the movie War Room.
Yes.
If you have not seen that, please go watch it. So what my suggestion would be, if you are broken, watch War Room. What happens in that movie is basically the wife is going through a lot of stuff, a lot of stuff. And so she speaks with this elderly lady. She's a Christian woman, and she's giving her all this advice. And she tells her to go find a room. It could be a closet. And I've done this, and I still have my notes and stuff hung up on my wall, in my closet, all that stuff. Find any room. It could be the bathroom. It could be anything, but I would prefer a closet. And you write down your prayers. You write down everything that you want God to fix, to heal, to bless you with, anything. And I'm telling you, put that on the wall and just pray about it. Continue to pray about it. Talk to God. I'm telling you, He is going to make a way, and you want to see a difference. You want to see a change within yourself. And He's going to. And I mean, I'm serious. Like, you have to talk to God, because that's how you hear His voice. You have to pray. That's how you hear His voice. That's how you see His vision. And that's how you know that, you know, what He wants for you to do in life, that He's talking to you right then and there. When you're listening to, you know, I listen to rap, I listen to hip hop, but when you're listening to the worldly things and you're doing the worldly things, that's how that voice that you heard with God, that faintly that disappears, because you're too busy focusing on the worldly things. We need to be focused on what God wants us to do, and that's worshiping Him, that's loving one another, you know. And we all need it in this world today. It's so much hatred in this world. It's all that. We need love. We need to love one another, and that's starting with first ourselves and with God. So,
I love that segue you just did, because so we've talked about brokenness and how to deal with brokenness, right? We've talked about, you know, some of the steps you go through in getting past your brokenness and that healing process. But there's a very key part that we have not talked about, and that is brokenness when it comes to relationships.
Yes.
So we have to get to that, because we can talk about the brokenness all day, but at the end of the day, most people you run into are at a broken place in one way, shape, or form, right? And so if we don't recognize the brokenness in each other, all we end up doing is adding to the brokenness that's already there. So many times we give up on people, we check out on people, because we don't understand where they're at. If we understood where they were at, what they were feeling, what they were dealing with, what they were going through, then we would know how to adequately pray for them, right? We would know kind of what they needed in that moment. And so something we talked about last week was how so many of us are so afraid to be vulnerable and open up and talk and let people in. right? Especially when it comes to spouses. Like if it's a friend, it's different. Like this is just my homie, my friend. I can talk to them. They pray for me. Yada yada yada. Soon as that label changes from friend to this is somebody I'm dating, all of a sudden we close up. We don't want to be vulnerable because we have negative connotations associated with relationships and things because of what we've been through. Break the cycle. I love that.
Yeah,
so,
I was just thinking that.
So
but
what,
then so let me put a pause on you for a second. But if you get into a relationship with someone that you cannot be vulnerable with, that's a red flag right there that you should not be in a relationship with them.
So, and I love you said that because there is a difference between someone you can't be vulnerable with and someone you choose not to be vulnerable with. And a lot of times what happens, there is a lot of times when we being humans, for some reason, I've been guilty of this. We choose to be vulnerable with the people we shouldn't be in a relationship. And then somebody that has our complete best interest at heart, we won't be. Like we have it back. So many of us have it backwards.
See, I guess I've grown because before it even gets to like the dating, I always say I'm like an open book. I'm gonna tell you right where I am because I've learned that. And if you can't handle me right where I am, then there's no need to go further.
True.
Prime example.
That takes courage that a lot of people don't have.
But no. For me, the reason why I do it, I'm be totally honest. For the reason why that I do it, so therefore I want to get attached to this person, and later down the road you hurt my heart because you can't handle me. So I'd rather tell you who I am up front and let you decide. So then in the future, if you be like, nah, I can't really, then it's like, I told you where I was coming from. So I can walk away with a clean heart. I can walk away. I can walk away with an ease mind because I didn't pretend nothing.
So I'm about to take this full circle right here. I'm glad you said that. A lot of times our brokenness leads us to not taking the necessary steps to get us out of that brokenness. So the very thing that we're trying to avoid staying in is what keeps us from taking the steps you just mentioned to avoid finding ourselves in more brokenness. Like you're an open book. And you like, you know what, I'm gonna put it out there. This is who I am. This is where I'm at. Take it or leave it.
The good, the bad, and the ugly.
There's a lot of people,
all of it.
So there are a lot of people whose brokenness, they're afraid to expose themselves in that way to find out if it's somebody that can really, like if this is something that, so what they do is they give pieces, small pieces that they're comfortable with because of their, and I'm not saying it's right.
No, but see, like I learned from in my marriage because like I wasn't totally honest with my ex. I gave him the good version of me and he fell in love with a lie. Be 100% honest. He fell in love with a lie. And then as time went on, when he started getting glimpses of me, he couldn't handle. He didn't want to deal. So 11 years later, we went our separate ways.
That's the right thing to do.
But in the meantime, he was telling me what he wanted, and I was being a chameleon. I was flipping. Oh, he said he wanted this, so I was flipping to this. Why? Because I was scared of losing him. In the end, I lost him anyway. But in the process of losing him, I found Precious, and Precious gained a better relationship with God. So the point was like, if he gone, I got God.
And that's the place everybody needs to get to.
But that was so hard though.
Right, and that's what I'm speaking to getting to that place.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of people who, because they're not there yet, they don't know how to get there, how to have that, because it takes courage. It takes a lot of courage to get to that place and stay in that place and being okay with everybody walking away. Nobody wants to do, because everybody did. It's not hard to love a great version of somebody when all you see is the good, right?
Right.
But when you see the whole picture, it's like, wait a minute. I ain't see that attitude at first. I didn't see that you could be selfish in that way. I didn't see this. I didn't see that. And then it's all of a sudden like, well, I don't want to deal with that. But because we talked about this in episode 1, we send a representative initially.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a representative we show people.
Mm-hmm.
And they get all of these great glimpses of who we are. But then all the stuff that we feel like is going to run somebody off, we pack it away and we hide it, right? And so what ends up happening is eventually when it comes out, now you've been talking to this person 6 months or 11 years. And then, you know what I mean, where you could have saved yourself a lifetime, a whole heck of a lot of heartbreak and hurt.
But that was mutual. We latched onto each other out of our brokenness. And when we started healing as individuals, it took us further apart. Because one still had God as a center, other one was just like, I'm living me. Whatever me is, that's gonna be me.
So was it the healing that separated you, or was it God?
I would say the choosing to walk away from God on one side, because we could have healed together if we kept God as a center.
Exactly.
But in the midst of, God was not the center. Money became the center for one, and the other one gravitated to God.
Gotta be equally yoked.
Yep. That's a whole nother lesson in itself.
Right. We ain't even gonna touch on
But
that.
I'm learning now. Conversation. We talked about that last night. Conversation. If I see them red flags, I gotta pass on you. We can be friends, and I watch you as you grow. I'll help you grow if you want to grow in God. But far as us being a couple, it's not gonna happen. Not now. I don't know what God has in the future, but right now, I can't do it, because I see your brokenness, and because I care, I'm telling you about your brokenness, and you can't handle it. So what? I gotta back up and still pray for you.
Yep.
So there was a question I posed to you when we were talking about this topic. So we were getting ready for the show. And I posed a question that I was curious to know. And ladies, please chime in. Takesha, I hope you still watch it, because I really want to hear what you have to say, because I know how grounded and rooted you are in everything. So I really want to hear her. I hope she's still watching. So we were talking about how I would say God separated her. Yep. So we were talking about brokenness, and we were talking about when it comes to a man and a woman and dealing with the other. And so I was saying, do you think men and women should look at it the same way? For instance, as a woman, when you're looking at a man, you're looking at, okay, can you be the head of my home? Can you lead our family? We have kids, you know what I mean? Can you do those things? And if he's really, really broken at that time, then 9 times out of 10 he can't, right?
No.
But as a man, what you're looking for when it comes to your spouse, your wife, it's a little different. And so is it, because I know as a man how I view it, but I'm just curious to know what y'all think.
No, so you tell us how you view it first, and then we'll tell you what we think.
As a man,
come on, we listen.
I'm a firm believer that God will point out and say, I know that, because that's a whole nother topic. Anyway, I believe as a man, God will show you, like, that's your wife. And then it's a matter of timing and waiting for the right moment and not rushing it, understanding that, maybe you're in a season of friendship first. Maybe you may fall off and not speak for a while for whatever the reason is, and God will bring it back together, whatever the case may be. So, but I know if God shows me that's your wife, right? Whatever space she's in, I'm going to love her through that space. If she's in a period, if she's broken, it's my job to be praying over her. Long before I say I do. When God spoke to me and said that was my wife, I don't need a ceremony. I don't need a marriage license in order to start moving as her husband, in order to start covering as her husband, in order to start making those moves. I don't need that other stuff to do that. So for me, and a lot of guys that I know that are grounded in God, it's not so much whether or not is my wife at a place of brokenness as to whether or not I can start this pursuit, as much as it is that my wife? Whereas with a woman, it's like, okay, in order for me to allow you in, I need to know that you can handle what comes with me allowing you in.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not at a place where you can handle what comes with me allowing you in, then I have to keep you at a distance until, even if I know that you're my husband, I have to keep you at a certain distance because you're not at a. Our job is to cover you, protect you, right?
But it's also our job to pray for you, for
Correct.
y'all as well. So
true. That's very true. Very, very true. But I go back to, biblically speaking, the woman is the gift of prize. The wife is, he who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord.
Correct.
God didn't gift Adam, or God didn't gift Eve with Adam. He gifted Adam with Eve.
Correct.
You know what I mean? And so it's not about where she is as much as it is who she is for me. And I know that if you spoke to me and said, that's my wife, as long as I am covering her and loving her as you have called me to, you will take care of the rest. You will take those seeds and you will bring about fruit from those seeds. So when it comes, and then the other thing is just knowing that the responsibility that comes with being the head. Whereas as long as I'm ready to be the head, I know that God is going to honor my prayers when it comes to my wife. If he spoke and said, that's my wife, right? But as a woman, if you're next to a guy and he's not ready to be the head, I just think it would be different because it's the responsibilities are different.
You'll keep them at a friendship level.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas I don't necessarily think as a man you would necessarily have to do that when it came to your wife.
Duh, because the man is the head.
Right. That was the whole thing I was getting to.
He leads.
Right.
It's his job to cultivate his home, his woman, his kids.
Exactly.
He's the priest of his home.
Exactly.
So, I mean, that's what he do. But as far as women wise, you know, God can tell me all day that this man is my husband, but if he's not ready to take that role, then there's nothing I can do.
Yeah.
That was the point I was getting to.
I mean, far as, you know, but I can, in the midst of, continue to work on me and pray for him.
Yeah.
That was the point I was getting to. If he's ready to take
and help him as a friend.
That was the point. So that was what I was getting to, and I was like, the difference kind of in the two angles when you look at it was just kind of the roles and way they're set up. So about to get out of here in a minute, but before we do, there's one more topic I really think we need to hit on before we get up out of here, and that is the man and the woman role. And so let's say you're married, right? And you've already gotten married, you're married, this is, y'all are one, right? And then all of a sudden this brokenness starts to show. Because not everybody, you know, there are some people that right now are dealing with it within their marriages. So the husband and the wife, what those roles look like in dealing with the brokenness in their spouse. Because so many times we're ready to check out on things. Like, I feel like we really forgot what marriage really is.
Marriage is a ministry. Foremost and first, it's a ministry. So when it comes down to it, if you're, say, when a couple got married, there was no brokenness. They did their whole process, but in the midst of them being married, stuff happened, and now there's brokenness to come. So that's when they both go to God together.
Yep. Amen.
And in the midst of them doing that, seek wise counsel for help. And then walk it out with God. Because God's going to always send you help. Now, whether you take that help or not, that's a different story.
Don't get married if you can't love somebody through their brokenness.
Don't get in a relationship.
Let's
start from the beginning. Don't get in a
relationship. If you
relationship.
cannot love somebody through their brokenness. Because brokenness isn't just, because guys, when we think of brokenness, we think, oh, she's laying on my chest crying 2 a.m, she's hurting. No, that ain't the brokenness. Is she ain't talking to you, she ain't speaking, she ain't opening up, she's numb, she's void, she's checked out, and you have no clue what's going on. Can you love her through that? Can you love her through having an attitude every day and you know you've done nothing at all wrong? Like that's loving somebody through brokenness. It has different forms it could take on different forms within one person depending on the day. And it has different forms depending on the people, period. So whenever you're talking about brokenness, be willing to love somebody through that and understand what that really looks like. So many times we get into courtship situations because they're convenient. We get into them based on how that person makes us feel, right? And that's the absolute
look.
And
And it has nothing
and
to
at
do
the end
with
of the
it.
day, that is such a, because feelings sway. They sway all
Looks
around.
change.
Looks change.
Feelings change.
Feelings
You don't
change.
really love that person until after you done been through some stuff with that person.
Yep.
It's more of infatuation in the beginning, or the possibility of this person being easy to love or easy to deal with, or I can see myself with that person for the rest of my life. I can see us building together. But until them hard times hit, and you like, come on, babe, we gonna lock arms and we gonna do this. We gonna pray together. We gonna fast. We gonna do what? We gonna read our word. That's when the love shows.
Yeah.
Because we can say all day that we love each other, but if we don't put no action behind it, it don't mean nothing.
Love is a verb.
Yep.
It's an action word.
Mm-hmm.
So, fellas, I'm gonna leave you with this nugget. I've heard it and I've said it before. If you give a woman the love she deserves, I don't care what place she's in, you consistently give it to her, she will return to you a love you have never seen before. I promise you, I have seen it. I ain't had it yet, but I've seen it. I have seen it. So yeah, I know that it is there. So, but if you have any comments, any questions, anything that you want to add, make sure to leave it in the comment section below, and we will make sure to try to hit on it next week. Speaking of next week, we are moving the time back 30 minutes. So we will be starting at 7:30 starting next week and going forward. It'll be 7:30 to, I guess, 8:30, around in there. Promise you won't have another hour, 30 minutes like we did last week. That's crazy.
It wasn't that bad.
It wasn't bad,
meaningful.
you know. It was necessary for that conversation. But 7:30 to 8:30 starting next week. Any questions, comments? Make sure you like this. Make sure you share it. Share it. Comment. Tell your friends about it. Tell your family about it. Any kind of topics you want us to cover, make sure you drop it in the comment section. Inbox me, inbox Miss P. Let us know. We can cover it. We just need to know what y'all want to talk about, or else we gonna keep talking about what we think of. So,
right.
if it's something that y'all wanna hear us discuss, let us know about it. Clap it up one time for our guest, Miss Bree, tonight. Thank you so much for coming. And tell the people one more time about what you got going on so they can follow you and check you out.
Yes, so I'm a makeup artist, self-taught. I do specialize in skincare as well. And I do model too. So definitely follow me on Facebook, BRE, Atkins, ADKINS, not the T. I'm original. And Instagram, BREE.Atkins. Look me.
So is that where they can go to find your work, see what you've done?
Yes, sir.
Cool. Miss P, you got anything coming up for the people they need to know about?
Well, I got a women's workshop and women's conference in the work. Have a singles mothers workshop that's going to be happening in November. A Trash to Treasure event that's going to be coming
Shortly.
Alright. And then working on this book, trying to finish this book. Pretty much is what I got going on.
So
I'm excited for that book. It's gonna be good.
Where can they find more information about what you got, just on your page or treasure box on your personal page?
Well, I will be putting it on the treasure box and sharing with Precious Wright. So far, I'm still trying to get everything together. I want to keep it in the woodwork until it's ready to throw out there.
Okay.
But you'll be seeing that I Am Enough.
I Am Enough. I like that.
Women's conference. Yeah.
I like that. Cool.
ICANN Ministry. Shout out to ICANN. Bishop McIntosh. First Lady McIntosh.
Hey.
Yeah.
What up, Bishop and First Lady?
Yes, them are my parents. Yes.
Hi, Mr. and Mrs. First Lady and Bishop.
Mr.
Mr. and Mrs. I flipped
McIntosh.
it. McIntosh. Yeah, that's what I was looking for.
Yes.
How y'all doing?
Yes.
So be on the lookout. Mother's Day, I got an EP dropping called Dedication to a Black Queen. Just trying to praise our women for all that you all do. Thanking you for who you are, how you love us, how you put up with us. Being raised by women.
Right.
Being raised by women, I think it's important. I know for me personally, like the biggest influences in my life have been women, seeing what they're going through. So thank you all so much. Mother's Day, I'll be dropping that. We got some leggings coming out for the ladies. CHOSIN leggings that'll be dropping. I got some more shirts that'll be coming soon, so stay on the lookout for that. Y'all pray for me. Next month, I'll be going to Atlanta. I was in a movie called Blood on My Hands that premiered last year, and they are premiering it in Atlanta next month. So I'll be going down there.
Grammy coming?
Oh, yeah, Oscar. Yeah, Oscar coming. Grammy's coming soon after that. I got a new project dropping this summer. It's called Introspection. If you have not copped it already, make sure you go to iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, any other digital distributor, and go get Tainted Praise. I promise you, you're going to like it. It's something on there for everybody. I speak on a vast range of topics on that. So, Tainted Praise. Make sure you go cop that.
And what is the song that we play in the beginning? What is the name of that song?
So the song we play in the beginning is called I Am. And I Am just is me speaking to who I am, what I went through, and how it made me into the man that I am today. You know, and how I did not let, at one time I was letting pain and insecurities and adversity come in and tear me down, caused me not to see myself as the man God created me to be. But over time I was able to see myself as God created me to be and who I am, and I am. So I am who I am. I am who I am made me to be. I am. So, but on that note, thank y'all so much for tuning in. Make sure y'all share this. Make sure you drop any questions, comments, topics you want us to cover. Thank you again, Bree, for coming through. Y'all missed it. They was in here early, like
no, really?
Eyebrows and everything. I walked in like
he mad because he didn't get his face beat. That's all.
That's what I'm talking about right there. They play all day. Anyway,
so she got a reminder of the time change.
Time change. Starting next week, starting this Monday coming up, it will be 7:30 instead of 7. So it'll be 7:30 to 8:30. Make sure y'all tune in. Hit our inboxes with any topics, comments, questions. Hit the comment section. Yeah. Or if you want to be a guest, hit us up. Let us know. Thank y'all so much. On that note, we out. Oh, ICEBERG. Enterprise Online Radio. Make sure y'all check it out. We actually got another show that'll be starting on Tuesday nights.
Yes.
We have the Allens. Yes. They are a married couple. They are funny.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
They are hilarious.
Yes.
So
shout out to the Allens.
Shout out to the Allens. We can't wait to check y'all out. Keish, what you got going on? I know you doing your DJ thing.
That's right.
We got her DJing on ICEBERG Online Enterprise Online Radio. She's DJing. We also got a show. Be on the lookout. It's coming out. It is called
Abuse.
Oh no, I got kicked. My bad. Families, Love Life, and Their Issues. Miss Bree is in that along with myself. Natasha Kane. We've got King Davis. We got Jermaine is in there. We got there's a lot of people. You're gonna love this show. It's got some crazy twists to it. We cover everything from church to college sports, relationships. I get into some relationship issues on the show. I would like to say in my defense that it is not me, it is the guy that I'm playing.
Goodbye, everybody.
So don't pin that on me. Y'all have a good night. Peace.